Welcome back, everyone. Let's go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE that just came out and compare it against the Google Pixel 5a and see which specific phone you should pick up. Now, the S21 FE is a little bit more expensive, so keep that in mind. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, though, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, they are kind of roughly around the same size. The S21 FE's panel is a little bit bigger. On the Pixel 5a, you do have a 6.34-inch AMOLED display, and it is a very, very good panel. I've kind of been saying this for quite a bit of time now, but as far as I can tell, this is a very sharp-looking panel, and it's OLED. I don't know if there's a big difference. And this panel is OLED, not AMOLED, but as far as I can tell, this was a very good panel when, Google released it. 1080p, hole punch display, a little bit of bezel around it, but nothing crazy, but it doesn't have a 120Hz display like the S21 FE has, so keep that in mind. Other than that, I think it's a pretty good looking panel. On the S21 FE, on the other hand, we do have a 6.4-inch dynamic AMOLED display, and this one is 1080p as well, but you have that 120Hz refresh rate, which makes this phone that much better in my opinion. So even if the display was better looking on the Pixel 5a, which it isn't, but let's just say hypothetically it was, this panel would automatically win in my opinion because it is that 120Hz panel. So I'm a really, really big fan of this specific panel for sure. Whole bunch display and all the 9 yards, whatever. In terms of thinness and thickness, you can kind of see they are approximately the same thing. They're both kind of flat-sided, although the S21 FE is more flat-sided, a little bit more of a curve on the Pixel 5a as you guys can tell, but the thinness and thickness is about the same. USB Type-C ports at the bottom. The Pixel 5a does have the headphone jack up top though, which is really random, which I love. And on the back, I guess kind of an aluminum back on the Pixel 5a, fingerprint sensor right here. S21 FE plastic back. You get wireless charging on both, however you do get reverse wireless charging on the S21 FE, which is really nice. Triple camera setup on the S21 FE, dual camera setup on the Pixel 5a. And in terms of the outside, that really pretty much covers it up. I do like the way the Pixel 5a kind of looks, but I like the S21 FE a little bit more in my opinion. Now in terms of the longevity of both of them, this is a pretty big difference. So with the Pixel 5a, it is on stock Android, and I really, really love stock Android. I think it's one of my favorite versions of software out there. Although it's not perfect, you can see, it may not have the most amount of features, and right now Android 12 stock Android is having some issues, but I'm a big fan of, stock Android, and I would definitely tell you, if you're in the market, getting a phone with stock Android is really, really powerful. On the other hand, with One UI 4, there are a lot of people who like this version of software too. Me personally, I prefer this one, but there are some advantages. Samsung puts a lot of features in these specific phones, not only in terms of the settings and everything, but just the whole system UI wise. And they really make an effort to make every year a pretty big update for One UI. So I have to give Samsung a lot of credit there. Although I like stock Android a little bit more, there are still a lot of features. For example, if I go and open up the camera app here and the camera app here, you can see there are a lot of features already built into something like a Galaxy S21 FE on One UI 4 than the Pixel 5a. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both these phones. The Samsung Galaxy S21 FE has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 chipset inside of it with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model and 8 gigs of RAM on the top tier model. This model has 6 gigs of RAM. The Pixel 5a, on the other hand, has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset with 6 gigs of RAM inside of it. So let's go and see which one is a faster phone between both of these. Okay, there we go. I cleared out all the apps in the background at the beginning with, so you guys can see except for these ones. I'll close out of all these. There we go. So let's get into it. S21 FE here, Pixel 5a here. Phone calls 3, 2, 1. S21 FE definitely faster there. Hopping out of this one, messages 3, 2, 1. Again, the S21 FE was pretty fast there too. Let's go into their Play Stores, 3, 2, 1. And the S21 FE was almost instantaneous. The Pixel 5a is a little bit slower there. So kind of scrolling through here, I kind of do think that the S21 FE's, actually, they're both kind of the same. The S21 FE seemed a little smoother, but now the Pixel 5a is kind of loading up a little bit faster. Now swiping between these apps, let's see if there's a difference. And I don't think there's that big of a difference, as you guys can tell, pretty much the same thing. Hopping out of this one, let's get into their cameras, 3, 2, 1. And there we go. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into some of these third-party applications we have on both phones. Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. Now this application has been crashing every single time on my S21 FE, so I don't know if it's going to open this time around, so I guess we'll just see what happens. And it did crash, so I'm not really too sure what's going on here. I don't know why that keeps happening every single time, so we're going to go ahead and just close out of it in the background so they're both even. Let's go into BOFA, 3, 2, 1. I think S21 FE was slightly faster there. Let's go and get into Instagram, 3, 2, 1. S21 FE slightly faster there. Twitter, 3, 2, 1. I'm seeing some pretty big differences between these two phones, to be honest. It looks like the S21 FE is consistently the faster one. Snapchat, 3, 2, 1. Again, S21 FE almost instantaneous. Let's go into Fruit Ninja. 3, 2, 1. And it looks like the S21 FE was pretty fast there too. And we do eventually get into it on the Pixel 5a, but that was definitely a faster experience on something like the S21 FE. Quizlet, 3, 2, 1. Again, S21 FE. It did crash on the Pixel 5a, which is very weird. So we do have a one crash on both of these phones. Very, very interesting thing to note. Let's go and do Snake versus Blocks. 3, 2, 1. And there we go. Getting into some gameplay here. Let's see if there's a difference. And I don't know if there's going to be a difference or not. We'll just kind of see as we get there. And it doesn't really seem like it. But loading wise, there was a slight little difference for the S21 FE. So that really pretty much covers up a majority of the apps I want to test. I think it's quite obvious that the S21 FE is the slightly faster one when it comes down to both of these. Do I think the S21 FE is the fastest one of all time? No, but I think when it comes down to both of these, you're getting a overall faster experience on something like the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE than on the Pixel 5a in my opinion. The Pixel 5a is still a fast phone for its price, but the S21 FE was faster here. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now let's go and hit on the cameras. Now on the back, like I mentioned, triple camera setup on the S21 FE, wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens. The Pixel 5a has that wide and ultra-wide sensor. Now they both can do 4K at 60 on the back, but on the front, the Galaxy S21 FE can do 4K at 60 on the front of this phone as well on the front camera. The Pixel 5a can only do 1080p at 30. So keep that in mind, kind of a disadvantage for some people out there, but it's still probably good enough for most people. Now, I mentioned this before, but this camera was a very solid camera for sure. I've had very few complaints about it. I love the ability of having that ultra-wide sensor, especially on a phone as cheap as this thing. I mean, this thing I think is $450, but it's probably gotten even cheaper than that. And it still has a lot of capability. You still have portrait mode, you still have a night sight, you still have a lot of features for sure. You have a couple of different modes you can choose from. But the big thing is, compared to something like the S21 FE, this camera isn't as capable, I would say, as the S21 FE. This phone has a lot more capability in my opinion than on something like this phone, to be honest. But that's not to say the S21 FE's camera is a billion times better. The Pixel 5a's camera is still very good. Now you do get that additional telephoto lens on this phone too, so keep that in mind. You are getting a little bit of a bigger sensor, which I think is really cool. But on top of that, you're getting things like, standard portrait mode, single take that we have on, the Pixel 5a as well. But you also have a ton of these video modes as well. So if we go and show you right here, I mean, there are a lot more options you can choose from on something like the S21 FE than on something like the Pixel 5. So I will tell you, the Pixel 5a's camera is still good, but I think the S21 FE kind of wins in the camera department. So in terms of that covers it up there. And to be completely honest, when it comes down to both of these phones, I do think the better value per dollar is the Pixel 5a. I think this is, if you're trying to get a phone that has, the best value per dollar for $450 brand new, you can't really go wrong with this. I think this one was $700. This is a very good price tag for this phone, and it's only gotten cheaper in the used market. So if you're planning on buying a phone and kind of moving on with your life and, not spending too much money on it, the Pixel 5a is a great phone. This thing has a tremendous I will say good build quality, decent speeds, great software, the whole nine yards. I mean, this is a good phone for sure. But the Galaxy S21 FE, if you have a little bit more money to spend, this feels more like a flagship than the Pixel 5a. It's still expensive though, which I would recommend just buying a used Galaxy S21 or one in the certified refurbished market. This one is the faster phone. It has a better display, kind of better build quality in some areas, way better camera on this thing too. I think this is the better phone here, but the Pixel 5a is still a solid phone as well. So in terms of that covers it up there. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that will mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.